Good afternoon, listeners and viewers. In today's episode, I shall quickly go through this quantum double slit experiments once again for the benefit of certain viewers. The relevance is very important between this physics and our philosophy of life and death. So that's what I'm insisting on, this physics. Suppose you take a white ball and throw it on a screen, on a white screen. The natural impression will be something a round impression. If you take a wet ball or a slightly dirty ball and throw it on a white screen, that will be the impression. But if you get a straight line, you will be surprised. Now that's what this is about in quantum world and with relevance to consciousness. I'll just come through. First I will explain the experiment. The physicists wanted to study the behavior of these electrons, how they behave when observed and how they behaved when not observed. So they took two boards, for example, the first board and the second board, and in the first board they had two holes, vertical, horizontal, vertical 4 feet, horizontal for example 2 feet. So 4 by 2 holes, and on the board was kept on the front side, and on the back side was the measurement screen, how the impression took place. And with this they wanted to study the behavior of these subatomic particles. Therefore, what they did was they sent, for example, to study the wave impression, a water wave in these two slots, and the impression on the back side of the screen was taken, and the impression you would get is several types of columns of bars or ribbons. Several you will get, because when the waves go through, the peak of two waves will hit each other, they cancel each other. That's called interference pattern. And then the bottom, the trough of these two waves, you can imagine a wave to be a bell shaped curve. The bottom will go and create the impression. That means, to put it simply, there were several ribbon type formations across the screen from the length, from the extreme left to the extreme right, for example. That's called a wave formation. Now then what they decided is take a shotgun, an electronic shotgun, and they started shooting small tiny marbles or subatomic particles through these two slits to study what type of impression. Naturally, like the white ball which creates a round impression, we would expect two columnar impressions, that is two bars or two vertical ribbons. That's normal. But what they found was, it was creating a wave type formation, that were several bands, several ribbons, just like a water wave which went earlier through those two slits. Surprising it was. So they decided to see a test what happens to these electrons, whether they are going through these slits or whether they are circumventing it, and what is the behavior they wanted to study. To study that, they kept a detector, a camera near the double slit, and then they started shooting. They shot even one by one, and when the camera was kept there, the impression what they received on the back side of the screen was exactly what it has been anticipated: two vertical ribbon formations, two bars. Natural, that was the right type of formation one can accept and one can evaluate. But when they removed the camera, it started behaving like a wave. That means, on observation, the observer through his observation collapsed the wave function. The observer, simply by act of observing, created a particle type of formation, that is two columnar ribbon type bars, and if the camera, the detector is removed, wow, created a strange typical wave type formation. There was no explanation to this. Then there was another advanced experiment on these similar lines that was called quantum erasure experiment. Now this again proved to them that on observation the particles, the atoms, the tiny marbles on observation behave like a particle type of formation, and when not observed they behave like a wave. Now, here this experiment of quantum erasure experiment, it would be stunning, it would be more thrilling to note. What they did was, first they took 102 covers, big covers. Inside these 102 covers they kept two envelopes. One envelope is called the detector envelope. The other envelope is called the measurement screen impression envelope. So, what they decided was to detect the data, then observe later. So, they wanted to see how it is, how the small tiny atoms behave. So, they did the same thing. So, they shot with an electronic shotgun through the two slits, collected the data in these 102 covers. In the first screen, the detector data was collected and placed in an envelope automatically. In the second backside screen, the measurement data was collected and kept in the envelope, that is called the measurement data envelope. Thus, these two envelopes were placed in a bigger cover. There were 102 covers like this. Fine. Now, they wanted to make sure whether everything has gone well in the experiment process itself. So, they opened the first cover, opened the cover, took out, saw those two envelopes, took out the first envelope, which is a detector data envelope. They saw the electrons had perfectly gone through those two slits. Fine. They opened the second envelope and saw a beautiful ribbon type formation, columnar bar type formation as anticipated, as normal. Fine. Then they threw away the first cover. Then whether by normalcy the entire process has been perfectly done or not, they took the last cover, which is the 102nd cover, the last cover. Whether the entire process of this experiment has gone through safely and smoothly and correctly. So, they took the 102nd cover, opened the cover. There were two envelopes, small envelopes. The first envelope they opened, which is the detector data, which had detected whether electrons had gone through those two slits. It was placed near the first board. They collected, opened, yes, all the electrons had gone through these two slits. They were happy. Then they opened the second envelope. They opened the second envelope, which is the measurement data screen data. Open the second envelope, yes, it had perfectly the two columnar type of formation, impression. They were happy. So, the 102nd cover was also thrown away. Now, balance, they had 100 covers. They took these 100 covers, shuffled beautifully like a pack of cards, shuffled nicely, and then they counted 50 covers. First 50 covers they kept as a pile on the left hand side of the table. The second 50 covers they kept as a pile on the right hand side of the table. Fine up to this. Then they went to the left hand side pile of 50 covers, and then what they did was they took one by one cover, opened the cover. There were two envelopes which I told you. The first is a detection data envelope, whether the electrons have passed through these two slits, and the second envelope is the measurement screen data envelope. So, every cover they opened, the first envelope they opened, they were very happy. Electrons had gone through those two slits. They opened the second envelope, yes, correctly, two ribbon type of formation, bar type, columnar type of formations as anticipated, normal sense, as anticipated was there, fine. Every cover they opened in the left hand side pile, every cover consisting of two envelopes, and every two envelopes in each cover reported or gave the correct information. Electrons in the first cover has gone through, it has been detected, and in the second envelope the electrons had given a perfect bar type formation in all the 50 covers of the first pile. Absolutely fine, it is as anticipated. That means as you throw a ball, you are getting a round formation on the screen, fine. They came to the second pile, another 50 covers. Here was the beauty, unexplained mystery of the cosmos, which even today they are not able to explain. Well, hear this. One by one they opened the cover, and there were 2 envelopes in each cover. One envelope was the detection data envelope. They took all the detection data envelopes from these 50 covers of the second pile without opening to see whether electrons had actually gone through that or not. They simply destroyed it. They burnt it, and the powder they put it in water and it got dissolved. Fine, the entire 50 envelopes from these 50 covers, the first set, which has what is known as detection data, whether the electrons or the subatomic particles or these tiny marbles had really gone through those 2 slits. It had the data, but they never observed the data. They never saw the data. They simply tore it, burnt it, and put it in water. Then they opened the second envelope containing the containing the measurement screen data. When they opened one cover after one cover and the second envelope one after the other, what was surprising is everything had wave type formation. There were several bars. Instead of correspondingly having 2 bars only, they had several bars. It was surprising. How can there be a wave type formation of having several ribbons, a wave type formation? The entire 102 covers had the same shotgun. They were all shot same. They were then tested, the first and the 102nd cover. The entire process of this experimentation had gone through smoothly and correctly and perfectly. And then the balance 100 covers were shuffled like a pack of cards, and then after shuffling, random shuffling, the first 50 was kept on the left hand side and the second 50 was kept on the right hand side. And on the first 50 covers, when they opened, they found 2 envelopes in all the covers, and they opened the first envelope containing the detection data, and they found electrons had gone through, and they opened the second set of envelopes and they found perfect 2 column types of formation in the second entire 50 envelopes placed in the second pile on the right hand side, the entire 50 covers containing these 50 envelopes. But when you open that right hand side envelope without observing the detection data envelopes in those 50 covers, which were destroyed, burnt and dissolved in water, they observed only the impression data, that is measurement screen data. All the 50 envelopes in those 50 covers placed on the right hand side pile. And what they found? Absolute surprising. It had a wave formation. Therefore, when everything was done in a standard method, in the procedure laid down scientifically in those formats required, what was found was when an observer or a camera observes these subatomic or tiny marbles, they had a particle type of formation, that is, they had what is known as the 2 columns, and the observer or the camera was removed or not observed. When the detector data was not observed, what was there? Nothing but wave formation. Even though all these 100 covers were shuffled, the tests were done perfectly, the first cover was taken, the 102nd cover was taken to ensure that the test has flown perfectly well, normal, perfect in all sense of the term of a test. Then what has happened? Simple by act of not observing in the second pile of 50 covers and throwing them, burning them and putting in water, the impression had changed to that of a wave. That means what is a secret? Does these electrons or subatomic particles or any other small particles know that they are being watched? And if watched, they behave regularly as anticipated in two bars in a particle type formation, and when not observed, they are just a wave. That's what it proves in quantum erasure experiments. What a beautiful scientific fact for this. Now this is what, my dear viewers, you have to understand thoroughly well, how it was revealed by no less a sage than Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi. You have to know this small narration. I would just tell you, Paul Brunton was one of the fine journalists and an ardent admirer of various esoteric forces in this world. He had written several books. He was a journalist. He was a journalist from England. He had gone to Egypt and wrote a book called A Search in Secret Egypt. He also wanted to come to India to find about the mysteries and secret of India. He wrote a book, A Search in Secret India. My book called A Search in Secret Hinduism, I have also revealed certain fine facts about Hindu philosophy, which on my research I found out. This Paul Brunton came to India, went to Bombay, went to Delhi, went to Calcutta, went to a lot of places. Finally, he came to Chingalpet, and there he met Mahaswami in those times, 1925, 26, 27 must be, who directed him to meet Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi at Tiruvannamalai. So Paul Brunton goes there and sees and goes and sits in the meditation hall before the august presence of His Holiness, Sage Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi, and was quiet for some time, still for some time. And then he said, he wanted to, his enquiring mind asks some questions. I am Paul Brunton. I come from England. I am a journalist. I want to know the truth. I want to understand the secrets of life. I am actually not very happy. So I am an ardent admirer of secrets of India. So I would like to know the truth. Bhagavan, on hearing all these questions posed by Paul Brunton, kept quiet. Again he repeated, I am Paul Brunton, I am a journalist, I am from England and I speak English and I would like to know the truth of life. I have heard about Bhagavan. Bhagavan then coolly said after some time, you always refer to that I. Who is that I? Paul Brunton was stunned. He was stunned to hear such a repartee from Bhagavan. He was stunned. Bhagavan said, you find out that who that I is and come tomorrow. Paul Brunton went back and then came and again said the same thing. I am Paul Brunton. Bhagavan said, that is your name. I am from England. Bhagavan said, that is your nationality. I am a journalist. Bhagavan said, that is your profession. I am wanting to know more about India. Bhagavan said, that is your interest. Well, I am like this, flesh and bones. That is your body, Bhagavan said. The I is something different. Go to the root of that I, Bhagavan says in subsequent meetings. Go to the root of I through Atma Vichara, through self-enquiry. If you go to the root of that I, the I will not be there. You will be a wave. The I gets dissolved. You will be a wave. You will be the Atma. You will be the Paramatma in the wave field. That is, by your observation, just like when you observe the electron or the subatomic particles behave like a particle and gives you the particle type of formation, Bhagavan said, when you observe your I, you feel that you are that I. You are the T.S. Viswanathan or you are the Paul Brunton. But if you go to the root of that I through self-enquiry, through Atma Vichara, the I will get dissolved. You will not feel that I. You will not know the I. The I gets dissolved into the wave. That is, the I comes because the observer, merely by his act of observation, collapses the wave function and gets an I. What a beautiful way to explain so simply, without using any physics, without touching upon any experiments, by the natural process of law, by the nature, by environment, by this beautiful universe. Bhagavan simply kindles. He just fondles with Paul Brunton. He says, if you go to that source of I and examine it, you will get that I dissolved. You will be in a wave function. First know that I. First go to the root of that I problem. Solve that through Atma Vichara or self-enquiry, and then you will find the happiness. And that is what is happiness is. Paul Brunton then became the devotee of Bhagavan. He, Cohen, Major Chandwick, all these people, all these Westerners were immensely absorbed in this holistic idea, in this very fundamental idea of Bhagavan, who revealed this idea to the world through his perfect silence. Through silence, he says, everything is possible. Through silence, you are in this Atma field. You are in this wave field. Even if you go to these physics a little bit, I have told you about the behavior of electrons. When they shift from n is equal to 1, where they have a minus 13.6 electron volts and they are near the nucleus. See, I already told you, to refresh your memory, an atom contains inside a nucleus, just like your yolk of the egg. The nucleus has protons which are positively charged, neutrons which are neutral charge, no charge. And that is a yolk. And around that atom whizzes past several electrons. They have their quantum stages. Particular stage only they can revolve around the atom, around the nucleus, inside an atom. N is equal to 1, N is equal to 2, N is equal to 3, N is equal to 4. So when they are close to the nucleus, their negative charge is minus 13.6, and when they absorb light, energy, that is called what we call in physics as photons, which are light particles, they shift to the next level. When they absorb more of light, they shift to the finer level. When they absorb to the fifth level, for example, they have only minus 0.54 electron volts. They have absorbed so much, that is, they have absorbed 13.04 or 6, 13.46, 13.06 minus. They have absorbed positive charges. They are enlightened. They go to 0 electron volts at that stage, they would fly out of the atom because they become a positron and they are no more. The positive charges repel. The protons inside the nucleus could repel the electron because they are no longer positive and negative. They are opposites attract and same repel. They repel. Or in the alternative, the electron can shed its positive charges and come back to its negative charges and come back to its various stages up to n is equal to 1. What does it show? As the electron shifts itself towards 0 electrons, it absorbs light. It absorbs positive charges. It gets enlightened. It gets enlightened. That's what the Vedas say. That's what the Gayatri Mantra says. You get enlightened by the light, by the Aditya, by his rays. Naha prachotayat, to us, please kindle. Why? Because you have to have that enlightenment. The enlightenment would only give you the wave field function. The enlightenment would take you to the unified field, to the Paramatma. Simple logic. How the electron can fly away once it has fully absorbed the positive, what is known as the photons, the light particles, it gets enlightened to the fullest and flies away from the atom, from the body. Your consciousness, if it is enlightened, would also do the same thing. It can leave the body. It can be a free electron, it can be a free conscious, or it can enter another body, or it can enter the same body if it sheds away its enlightenment. What a beautiful relevance it has. If you see this relevance, there can be nothing better than this. Well, today's episode, I shall end with this and continue tomorrow. But in the meantime, if you like this program and if you want to continue, because I have got a lot of other Vedic subjects to be spoken of, which it would take some more time, but our sponsors, that is Shankara TV, would like to have some sort of a reimbursement of charges, especially the camera charges and the satellite charges. You can directly talk to them and then you can see what best you can do financially. Thank you.